wonderful episode of Mind Over Masculinity. I'm your host Avik, and today we are diving deep into a topic that affects so many men, but often goes unspoken, I would say. I guess all of you have heard about these words shame, self compassion, and how high achievers can thrive without burning themselves out. Yes. And dear listeners, our guest today is someone who knows this terrain inside and out. Please welcome Jerry Henderson. So, welcome to the show, Jerry.
Oh, hey, thank you, Avik. So glad to be here. Just amazing to be here with your audience. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Jerry. So, Jerry is a master certified coach, author, speaker, and the host of the Permission to Love podcast. So, he's dedicated his life to helping high achievers break free from limiting beliefs, burnout, anxiety, and the imposter syndrome, guiding them towards lives of authentic success and the fulfillment. So, with a blend of positive psychology, trauma informed practices, internal family systems, and the neuro linguistic program, which we all know as NLP, so he has helped thousands of people redefine success and build resilience. And his story is not only inspiring their listeners, it's a testament to the power of healing and self compassion, I'd say. And um, dear listeners, I have a feeling that today's conversation will definitely shift how you think about achievement, masculinity, and the mental health. So, why to wait? Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jerry, you work with a lot of high achievers who are constantly pushing themselves to do more. So, on that perspective, why do you think so many men, in particular, uh, tie their self worth to their performance and the achievements?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of it has to do with culture. We live in cultures that tell us that our worth is, attached to our bank account, to our job title, to our education, how our success looks externally. But the challenge is so few of us ask the question about what is happening on the inside. Are we having success internally? Because the truth is, we can build everything externally that looks good, that everybody would praise, think is, a life that somebody else would aspire to. But internally, our internal sense of
Mm,
self, the way that we feel towards ourselves, the way that we feel towards life. I often say that many high achievers wind up building lives that they're not even sure they want to live because they
mm,
have this pressure to achieve. And so I think some of it's cultural. I think some of it is in origins of trauma for some individuals. Their childhood trauma can birth within them what is known as socially prescribed perfectionism, that they need to meet the expectations that they think society, others, parents that have of them, and so they get into perfectionist mode. And there's several different types of perfectionism, but socially prescribed perfectionism, or once again that feeling that society and others expect you to be perfect, is one of the more destructive types of perfectionism. That can lead the person to get on that treadmill of achievement, chasing success. There's never enough for them. And so if they're trying to overcome the way that they feel about themselves, right? So we talked about the external society, but there's also the internal, how I feel about me. Am I okay? Am I enough? Or do I have to achieve and prove that I'm enough, that I'm okay? And for many high achievers, they're hoping that their achievements will help fix them inside. It'll give them the
mm.
permission to accept themselves. So, yeah, that's some of the reasons why.
Yeah. Wow. And do you think that this pattern is how do I say, is rooted more in the personal upbringing, or is it cultural conditioning that rewards men for what they do rather than who they are?
Yeah. I would say that it feels pretty predominant in most cultures, this expectation of men. to achieve,
Mm.
that our value it's interesting, I was having this conversation of with somebody the other day about how a man's value is so often tied to what he produces, okay, what he is able to achieve in life. And that if he doesn't achieve certain things, it can develop
Mm.
a sense of shame or it can
Yeah.
develop a sense of not being enough. And so uh, cultural conditioning can play a really big part of that. And of course every culture is different. There's different focus on certain Eastern cultures in achievement and performance, Western ideas around what it should look like. So I do think it's really embedded in the culture that men carry this pressure that I'm
Mm.
only as valuable as what as I can produce, and when I stop producing, and this is one of the things I work with people on, is what happens when you stop producing? Are you still worth something? And to help an individual see their inherent intrinsic worth, regardless of
Yeah.
their achievements. But yeah, big cultural stuff there for sure.
Amazing. So, like, uh, if I say, like, uh, what to say, like, you often said that shame is also one of the most destructive forces for men. And from there, like, what does it look like in the lives of high achievers? Like, um, I mean, how does it hold them back? I mean, if you can share.
Yeah. So shame, I'll just start with a little bit of a definition that
Mm.
working definition that I work with is that shame is about you as a person, right? So we have guilt. Guilt is the sense that I did something wrong that I'm not proud of. And shame is the sense that I'm wrong. There's something wrong with me, that I'm broken, I'm uniquely flawed. And so it can manifest in very different ways. And so, but one of the challenges for many high achievers, if I feel a sense of shame, I feel that I don't want people to see me. I don't want people
Mm.
to know me. So I may not have intimacy. I may not have connection. And so for the high achiever, this really shows up. So the sense of, I'm not enough as myself. And I feel like there's something wrong with me. So therefore I developed this high achieving personality and I can hide behind my achievements. And then that path leads me to continue to push myself because I never feel okay. Because it's not about my achievements. My achievements are not washing away that sense that I have about myself. So I'm going to constantly keep pushing myself. And what that's going to cost me and way that's going to hold me back is I'm going to start to burn out eventually because I can never do enough. I keep raising the bar on myself because it's an internal issue. It's not an external issue. The number of zeros that you add to your bank account are not going to change the way that you feel about yourself if you're coming from a place of shame. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to limit my relationship capacity because if I feel shame, I'm afraid to be seen. I don't want to get close connected. And many high achievers will resonate with what I'm about ready to say. They'll hear things from people like, I know you, but I don't really know you. You're here, but you're not really here because high achievers are normally off in their brain, right? Trying to think about the next thing that they need to do, what they want to accomplish and that never being present, that sense of being disconnected. So I miss out on relationships. And Avik, the saddest thing is I miss out on life because I'm never able to truly be present. The very life that I've built, I can't enjoy and I can't allow myself to be in the moment because I'm always 5 steps ahead trying to figure out what I should be doing, or I'm regretting some, failure that I have in the past, and I'm always trying to work that out. And so I miss out on life, I miss out on relationships, and I wind up burning out. And for many high, not for many, for a number of high achievers, they'll actually wind up self-sabotaging, getting into self-destructive patterns and behaviors like addiction, workaholism, other things, and it winds up derailing their life. And so it can have a lot of consequences.
Exactly. I agree. I mean, like on this, because some men think shame is a motivator, that it pushes them to do better. But um, what would you say to someone who believes their shame is actually driving them success?
Yeah. That's a great point, Avi. And it's something that we have to learn how to get
Mm.
healthy with, right?
Yeah.
Because if shame is the sense that I'm not doing enough and therefore I'm not enough, And
Yeah.
I think that that's a motivator, like, I gotta keep kicking my own butt, right, to keep going, and if I let off the gas with myself, then I'm
Mm.
not gonna, achieve and move forward in life. But it's a very deceptive emotion, shame is, because shame, when we think about it as a motivator, it never gives up. It never allows us to rest. It never allows us to stop. And when we think that if I'm not feeling shame or I'm not feeling bad about myself, that I'm not going to achieve, what we're actually saying, think about it relationally, right? If you were in a relationship with somebody else and they were constantly barraging you with how you weren't enough in order to motivate you, I mean, all the research tells us that that's not a way to motivate an individual. And we have to think about this like we have a relationship with ourselves, and that relationship is determining every other relationship in our life. And so the way that we treat ourselves to motivate
Mm.
ourselves, for many of us, we'd never treat an employee that way. We'd never treat our kids that way. And if we do treat them that way to get motivation, that relationship's going to be really dysfunctional. It's going to be broken. And so as we think about the shame that we think is what's needed to motivate us, we can, let go of that, and we can come from a much more compassionate place towards ourselves in our achievements. There's interesting research from Kristen Neff, and she does a lot of work in self-compassion that talks about how when we change the energy that we have towards ourselves from one of judgment and shame towards compassion, that it actually can free up energy within us. And so as high achievers, we're always looking for more energy in our lives, right? To do the things that we want to do. But when we're in a shame pattern and we're up there
Mm.
beating ourselves up, telling ourselves we're not good enough, can't let off the gas, we're broken, we need to do this, we need to do that, that's a lot of energy that's getting wasted, that we're just cycling around inside of ourselves, that we could be putting that energy towards building a life that we want. But I would ask the person who feels like shame is their motivator, where did that story come from? When
Mm.
did they start to believe that? Because it is often rooted in painful life experiences or culture. And then I would ask them to really think about how that has served them. Because if we can get addicted to shame, we can get addicted to a sense that we're not enough, that we have to achieve, and we're on that treadmill. And so
Mm.
asking that question, when did it show up? And for sure, it serves us. It can help us get to places that, we want to try to get to. But the challenge is it won't let us stay there, and it also winds up building a life that we don't wanna be in many cases because of the way that we feel about ourselves, and we realize that everything that we thought was gonna heal us, make us feel whole, just doesn't do us, the job that we thought it was gonna do, and then we wind up in the state sometimes of feeling really hopeless. It's like, "Well, if I can't get there through achievements, how am I ever gonna get there?" Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I can see that how that belief would be hard to let go of because it's so ingrained, and I mean the cost of using shame as fuel is often hidden until it's too late. Also, so
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is a difficult emotion to get rid of. I often tell people it's sticky. It's like tar. And because we have to find an environment that's safe for us to be able to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to be seen and still be met with empathy and still be met with acceptance. And for men, that's really hard sometimes, right? For us to be able to be transparent and vulnerable with each other because we stand behind our achievements. We have this persona that we want people to see. And we don't want people to see the pain, the suffering that's just a few layers deeper beyond what we present, the image that we manage and present to the rest of this world. And so we live lives that are disconnected. We live in a space that our only value is in what we achieve. And that's ultimately going to wind up with some really unhealthy consequences in our life eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. Ooh, and here's also one challenging thing. I mean, so do you think that high achievers can ever feel truly fulfilled, or is the I mean is the very drive that makes them successful also? um, what keeps them restless? So, what do you say?
Yeah. Yeah, great question, right? Because there are healthy high achievers, and there are individuals who are coming from a place of wanting to build something that
Mm,
isn't about getting the acceptance of other people. Because here's the challenge, right? When we do this subconsciously, we're not always aware that we're doing this, but we're out here trying to build a life. We're stacking our achievements, and we're hoping that those achievements will allow other people to accept us, because the real problem is that we don't accept ourselves. And we're
mm,
hoping that their acceptance through our achievements will finally give us the permission to accept ourselves. That if everybody else says I'm okay, if everybody else says I'm enough because of everything that I've done, maybe I am okay. Maybe I can accept myself. Maybe I can treat myself in a way that's loving, compassionate, and kind. And so that's the real challenge, right? Because we're out there subconsciously trying to get acceptance so that we can learn how to accept ourselves. And so, what does all that mean for the achiever who's going to strive and think that, I have to do all of this and I'm looking for fulfillment but never finding it? When I work with high achievers in this space, we start with a relationship with themselves. How can you come from a place of self acceptance? Because you can achieve from a place of expansion, which is very different energy than striving or trying to prove myself. So if I'm out here trying to strive and prove and get acceptance, that energy eventually is exhausting. It's not a self-charging battery. It's one that I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but at the end of it, it's always empty. Versus, I want to come from a place of self-acceptance. I want to come from a place of self-compassion and a place of expansion, the curiosity, right? There's the energy of curiosity, which is, what am I capable of? What can I actually do? How can I be, a gift to other people in my life? How can I leave a legacy, purpose, and contribution? Those are different energies than the curiosity energy, than I should. No, I should do this. I should do that. This is who I'm supposed to be. That
mm,
isn't self-discovery. That's meeting the expectations externally versus we can shift internally, and absolutely you can build a life of fulfillment from that place where you feel fulfilled and satisfied, and you're moving through expansion, not through striving.
mm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and so what's the difference between striving from a place of fear versus striving from a place of purpose and self acceptance? I mean, it's random, but I thought, like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if and once again, I think it's a body energy, it's a mental energy, and it's the ability for me to be able to stay connected with myself. I like to talk about my higher self, right? Or this place where I can come from that is loving energy, accepting energy, that is feeling that I am creating. And yes, there's some nuances here where sometimes it can feel like it's the same and it can be just a matter of semantics, but it really is about the energy. And a person who has shifted from that striving of proving, of trying to get acceptance because I'm not enough, once they've shifted out of that to
Mm,
legacy, to purpose, to me as an individual
mm,
expressing my gifts, who I am here on this planet while the short amount of time I have here, and it coming from that feels very different. And sometimes it's even hard to put into words, but as a person begins to feel that shift, they
mm,
absolutely begin to resonate with it from, wow, I am doing this from a place of energy that feels more free,
mm,
more life giving. I'm beginning to show up differently in my life with my relationship with other people. I'm not as stressed out all the time. So, stress is a big indicator of this, right? If I have a lot of stress in my life, I've got a lot of worries and fears and all of that. When I work with individuals, I ask them, let's go a layer down below that fear. What's that fear trying to tell you? What's it trying to protect you from? Well, maybe it's trying to protect me from the feeling that if, people really saw me, I wouldn't be enough. They wouldn't accept me as I am. And that's a true fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being accepted for simply who I am. And that energy versus the energy of, I'm going to be okay. My achievements don't define me. I have a person below all of those who I can love, who I can accept. And so that's the place we have to start, is your relationship with yourself. And as that energy shifts, those fears begin to subside because you're knowing that you're going to be okay because of the way that you treat yourself, the way that you meet yourself.
Exactly. What a lovely saying, I'd say. Yeah. Amazing. And one suggestion or one advice you'd like to share with the listeners today, what that would be?
Yeah. So if I had one piece of advice, it would really be to understand that you have a relationship with yourself. High achievers have measures and metrics, KPIs for everything in their life, right? How's my, performance going? What's my return? What's all of the, so all of those things. But we don't have any KPIs or measures for our relationship with ourselves often. And what I would say is that if you can commit to understanding that you have a relationship with yourself, make that the primary thing that you work on in your life, everything else will begin to work a lot better in your life. And, I've seen it time and time again. As our relationship with ourselves gets healthy, our other relationships get healthier, our work gets healthier, our lives begin to bloom in a lot more beautiful way.
Exactly. Wow. Lovely. Jerry, I mean, this conversation has been an eye opening, and I would say that you have shown us that success without self compassion is ultimately unsustainable, and um, that, that, that true strength comes from accepting ourselves and not just pushing harder. So that's very true. And for everyone who's listening, uh, if you're a man who feels weighted down by shame, perfectionism, or the pressure to always be strong, then please take Jerry's words to heart. And you are more than your achievements. And self compassion is definitely not a weakness, it's your foundation for the lasting success. So make sure to check out Jerry's work and his Permission to Love podcast. And I'll put all the links into the show notes for easy reference. And also, Jerry, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the best medium to connect?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to my website at jerryhenderson.org, or they can simply shoot me an email at jerry@jerryhenderson.org.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, as I mentioned, I'll put all the links into the show notes for easy reference. And uh, until next time, this is your host, Avik, and this is Mind Over Masculinity. Stay strong, stay open, and stay connected. So, thank you so much.